It's not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro.
Our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator. Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Hello and welcome on into a very fun edition of the Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network. I'm your host, Cam Stuart. Zach Burke keeping us on the air as he does 5 days a week, live on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts as well, as we are recapping arguably the biggest Patriots win since Tom Brady left the team. There is real hope around this franchise, and it comes in the form of Drake Maye, Stefon Diggs, Mike Vrabel, and a potential top 10 defense. The Patriots stun the football world and upset Buffalo in their own building in what was a raucous atmosphere. We will take you through the incredible numbers by Drake Maye and why the nation knows that he is here. We will talk with Mike Debate of Sports Illustrated covering the Patriots about what this win means, what it means for Mike Vrabel's coaching style, for his culture, and possibly playoffs for the Patriots this season. Plus, the Bruins announced that they are retiring the number of one of their all-time greats. Why Zdeno Chara is more important to that franchise and to this city's history than you think. And he had a very brutal postseason. But is it too much of a knee-jerk reaction to say it's time to trade Jarren Duran? I don't think so. Heavy Red Sox, Bruins, but mostly Patriots on this edition of the Cam Show. And that is where we start, because we start where we start. And it starts, of course, with this Patriots upset victory in Buffalo. They said I was stupid. They said I had a low IQ, all because I said Drake Maye is closer to Josh Allen than you might think. Well, who's stupid now? Probably still me, but the Patriots just got a signature victory in probably the toughest environment Drake Maye has ever had to play in. 70,000, Bills Mafia, lubed up, night game, whiteout. And Drake Maye goes out there and shows the nation in his first primetime game in the NFL, I'm here, baby. I'm here. Pats win it 23-20. Great defensive performance for sure, and we will get to that. But this night belonged to Drake Maye and Stefon Diggs. I talked about it on Friday, that Drake Maye is not that far off from Josh Allen. Does he have the accomplishments Josh Allen has in terms of the MVP and winning all those division titles? Like, no, he doesn't have that yet. But it's also more than just the fact that he's 6'4". Like, the numbers are there. Drake had a better rookie year than Josh Allen did, and we know how much of a project Josh Allen was, but so was Drake Maye. And so far this year, the defending MVP and just played his 17th game in the NFL, Drake Maye, have gone stat for stat. And in this game last night, they went stat for stat. Josh Allen, 22 of 31, 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Drake Maye did not throw a touchdown, did not throw a pick, and goes 22 of 30 for 273 and the game-winning drive. So he has a better completion percentage, throws for more yards and for less turnovers, and still got the same amount of touchdowns that Josh Allen did, right? Like, he didn't throw for one because they had a couple of goal-to-go running situations and they scored. Stat for stat all season, stat for stat all night head-to-head. And talk about getting out of the pocket, man. Drake Maye looked like Patrick Mahomes in this game. He did. I know it's going to sound like I'm jumping off a ledge here, but in this game, that's what he looked like. Rolling to the right. That offensive line is still not good, man. That is still not a good offensive line. He was running for his life for a lot of the night, but he was making plays. And Collinsworth just falling all over himself of, oh my God, look at him go to the right. And he was correct there. It was pretty awesome. That dart he has to Stefon Diggs down the sideline, rolling to the right. It's an absolute seed. Those are the plays I see. And I say there are still cynical Patriots fans out there who don't think he's even Mac Jones. I'm like, you watched that game last night and you really don't have more hope with this kid than you did with Mac Jones? Give me a break. Mac Jones did not have a game like that. He had some good games in his rookie year. He did not have a game like that. He did not have a game in that kind of atmosphere where in the second half, he went toe-to-toe with the MVP of the league and went 13 for 14 for 184 yards, a 118 passer rating on 13 yards per attempt in the second half. And oh yeah, gets the first game-winning drive of his career. And that first play of the game-winning drive is Mahomes-esque. I mean, you'll see it everywhere on the highlight tape today, tomorrow, and probably for the rest of Drake Maye's career. He's rolling out. He's being brought down. His knee has barely not hit the ground yet, and he's looking at the ground, and he just gets the ball out there to Stefon Diggs. First down right after the 2-minute warning. That goes from a sack, a loss of 3 or 4, to a gain of 11. Right as you're about to take a TV timeout. That is a huge play. And Drake Maye becomes the youngest quarterback ever to have 4 straight games of 200 yards and a 70% completion percentage. A third of the way through the season, essentially, Drake Maye is top 5 in passing yards, in yards per attempt, which is something that everyone brings up with Mac, and they certainly did with even Brady. He's top 5 in that. And he's second in the league, just percentage points behind Jared Goff in completion percentage. 73.9. That's sickening in the best way possible. 73.9% of his passes. And just because we did the Josh Allen comparison through their rookie years, how about we do it for this? Because remember, Drake Maye had a 66% completion percentage last year. It was 14 points higher than Josh Allen's first year. 5 games through Josh Allen's second year, that had gone up to 55%. Drake Maye has gone up to 74%. That's gross, man. That's gross. And oh, by the way, for the first time for Drake Maye or for Mac Jones, they have a legit number 1 receiver to go to. Stefon Diggs, one of the great redemption revenge games we've ever seen from a Patriot. 10 receptions on 12 targets for 146 yards. He cooked them up. It's the most yards Stefon Diggs has had in a game since October 16th of 2022. It's been 3 years, 150 weeks of real life since Stefon Diggs had a game like that. And he was playing for the Buffalo Bills at the time. All-time revenge game. But that real connection is what gives you hope. For all the people who went out on a limb and said 9 or 10 wins this year and then saw how they looked the first couple of weeks, this is why you had that hope. Stefon Diggs is a prime Stefon Diggs in that game, man. He looked like a legit still number one receiver. He looked healthy, and Drake Maye looks like a legit quarterback for him. There's real hope here in New England, man. And the rest of this game was pretty sloppy, right? You know, both teams had fumbles. Ramondre has another fumble. But this defense comes up huge. I mean, again, they held the best offense in the league to 20 points. And they had the lead for basically the entirety of the game. In fact, they didn't trail in the game. That defense was huge. I mean, Marcus Jones, what a game he had. And picking off Allen in like a legit nails situation. Like inside the red zone, third quarter, you're only up 3, and Marcus Jones picked him off. This is a guy who, they literally set the record last year for least amount of turnovers in the league. And that Patriots defense forces a couple. You get the Andy Borregales 52-yard field goal. I mean, we were all ready to cut this guy 2 weeks ago. You had the weird penalty disparity where the Bills were getting all of them in the first half, and then the Patriots were getting all of them down the stretch. Not even bad calls. It was just weird how it worked out. But there is real hope here with this Patriots team. Real hope. And we're going to talk with Mike Debate in a few minutes about what that hope means for the future of this team, for the near future of this team, like making the playoffs, and what this looks like down the line. Maybe this attracts some free agent receivers too. We'll see. But Drake Maye and Stefon Diggs, those dudes carried you last night to a legit upset in the NFL. These Patriots are for real. They're definitely the second best team in the AFC East. That's of no question right now. And they just beat the first best team in the AFC East. They just beat the 5-time defending division championship winners in their own barn. Can't wait to talk with Mike Debate about it in just a few minutes. But first, before we get there, the Bruins have found a way. Okay? They know this team is going to be mediocre this year. The Bruins have found a way to get more butts in the seats this year. They milked out all the centennial celebrations into last year. Now it's time to start retiring some numbers. The team announced this morning that Zdeno Chara's number 33 will be retired on January the 15th before the game against the Seattle Kraken. And obviously, Zdeno Chara deserves this honor. He's going into the Hockey Hall of Fame next month as well. He deserves to have his number retired in Boston. And what better honor is there to have your number retired for an original 6 franchise? But I think Zdeno Chara's spot, not only with the Boston Bruins history, but the history of this sports town, is almost underrated, because Chara saved this franchise, saved it. Okay, because 20 years ago, the Bruins were so irrelevant in the NHL scene and in the scene in this city, as irrelevant as they had ever been. They were bad. They didn't have any identity. They just traded their best players. And nobody thought this big 6'9" defenseman coming in from Ottawa was going to make the huge difference. But he did. And really what it comes down to, and this is a hot take amongst Bruins fans. I've gotten a lot of heat for this in the past. But Zdeno Chara cleaned up a mess that Joe Thornton left you. Okay, and this might be a little harsh on Joe Thornton. And I know everyone remembers, what a bad deal it was. They lost the trade. How could you ever trade this Hall of Famer? He won the MVP that year. But in reality, that trade, getting rid of Joe Thornton and bringing in Zdeno Chara, is what changed this franchise forever. 8 months after the trade by Mike O'Connell, they signed Chara. He gets captaincy on the first day, and the rest is history. You look throughout NHL history, you think about guys like Steve Yzerman and Alex Ovechkin and Brett Hull, what they had to do to change their game to win the Stanley Cup. Joe Thornton was not the guy to get you there. He was much more like the Steve Yzermans and Alex Ovechkins of the years before they won the Stanley Cup than he was, going to be a Stanley Cup winning captain. That was just not going to happen. Chara was that guy. Chara came in day one and set a new standard, took his own game to the next level, and made sure everyone around him did. Because you went from a guy in Joe Thornton who was not the most vocal leader. Sometimes it's fine. Didn't care much about the defensive end of the ice and failed to show up in the playoffs. Failed. 6 goals and 18 points in 35 playoff games. A -10 rating in his time with the Bruins in the postseason. And in that last playoff series, remember they were the number 1 seed. They were facing Montreal. They were up 3-1 in that series. He was awful. He somehow went scoreless through 7 games, was a -6 for the series. Like, I know it's fun to remember that this Hall of Famer started out with you and, couldn't the Bruins have been so much better if they had just kept him? No, they couldn't have. No, they could not have. Because then they wouldn't have had the opportunity to reset and bring in someone like Zdeno Chara to set the new standard. He comes in, he plays over 1,000 games with the Bruins alone, ranks 3rd in franchise history for points by a defenseman. Couple of pretty good guys ahead of him, Bobby Orr and Ray Bourque. Made an all-NHL team, first or second team, 7 times, won the Norris in 2009, and just became the first Bruin in 39 years to lift the Stanley Cup. When you talk about most important players in Bruins history, no one will touch Bobby Orr. No one. How could you? But Zdeno Chara deserves a spot right near the top of the list, maybe only right behind Orr. This dude saved a middling franchise that was not going anywhere and had fallen into complete irrelevancy in their own market. He always showed up in the playoffs. He always had his teams ready to go. He was always setting the standard. So thank you to Jeff Gorton, not Peter Chiarelli, who technically couldn't have been the Bruins general manager yet. Remember, Jeff Gorton was the interim who brought him in on July 1st. So thank you to Jeff Gorton for signing Zdeno Chara, and a massive thank you to Chiarelli's old team, the Ottawa Senators, for choosing to stick with Wade Redden. They said, no, we'll let Chara go. Wade Redden's the guy. What a story this is culminating with. I mean, again, you got to remember where this guy started from. Chara, he was just some big ugly, some 6'9" guy that Mike Milbury drafted because of a VHS tape. There was this legend, this talks of this Slovakian giant from the countryside who wrestles bears and also happens to play hockey. He comes in, he is raw as hell, and his career ends with him being raw as hell in a much better way. And you think back to that generation, and it spans a while. He played 24 years in the NHL. But when you talk about the great defenseman, the most intimidating defenseman of that generation, certainly Nick Lidstrom, the all-around Rolls Royce, is number 1. But then you're talking about Chris Pronger, Scott Stevens, Zdeno Chara, all in that next tier. Like all right there at the top, man. Shut down defensemen, just some of the meanest, baddest SOBs you will ever meet on a pair of skates. What Zdeno Chara means to this franchise is immeasurable. And when I saw that update this morning, you know what I did? I went right to my favorite ticket site and I bought a couple tickets for January the 15th. I'm going to be there. I can't wait because Zdeno Chara is one of the most underappreciated athletes in Boston sports history because of how he turned around the Bruins, but he's going to get his due. So you could have had the number 19 in the rafters. And Jumbo Joe probably would have been like their all-time leading scorer, and he'd be a Hall of Famer. But I think the proof's in the pudding. He became the captain in San Jose. They had a ton of talent there for a long time. Never won the cup. Ring chased the last couple of years of his career. Never won the cup. I'll take that 2011 Stanley Cup championship banner, even if it means Zdeno Chara's 33 would never be up there. I would take that any day of the week. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Then be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We, of course, come at you live on YouTube every weekday, high noon Eastern time, and then we're available wherever you get your podcasts as well. Your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio. Coming up next, we're shifting our gears back to the Patriots and one of the biggest wins they've had in quite a few years. Old friend of the show, Mike DeBate of Sports Illustrated, is going to come on and break down how important this Patriots victory was and if it means playoffs back in New England. That's next on The Cam Show.
Welcome to Kitbag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, for true football passion, think Kitbag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's kitbag.com. Kitbag.
Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns. Book your first appointment today.
At Mitzi, we believe the right light can transform any space. Mitzi has the perfect design for you. Beautiful, well-made lighting without the high price tag. Discover your perfect light at Mitzi.com. That's MITZI.com. Mitzi. Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
Everybody at Equalife really has a passion and a real interest in helping people feel well. How much further can we go to get you feeling even better? It is a complete partnership between the two of us.
At Tusane's, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Visit Tusanes.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.
Back to the show, the Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network, riding the high of one of the great Patriots wins in recent memory, 23-20 over the Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football. The nation knows about Drake Maye now, but our next guest, Mike DeBate of Sports Illustrated, covered the Patriots. He's known about Drake Maye for a long time. Long-time friend of the Cam Show, Mike DeBate, brings it back. And Mike, I'm riding the recency bias. I'm riding the high from last night, and I'll just come out and ask you straight away. Did that look like a playoff team to you?
I'll tell you, it's hard to argue the alternative. They really did look like a playoff team last night. The Patriots came up big in all three phases. When you needed them to play their optimal game, they did that. Drake Maye had a near flawless second half, and I think that really proves that this kid is the future in New England, and he could be the present in New England as well. That's not an also-ran team that the Pats just beat. They beat the Buffalo Bills, the last unbeaten in the NFL heading into that game. A lot to like. His supporting cast is really coming up big. You can't say enough about what Stefon Diggs did last night. But guys like Kayshon Boutte stepping up. Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, I think, still continue to give you great production out of that tight end position. Ramondre Stevenson, almost a disaster in the making, really kind of comes back and shows the world what he's capable of doing when he's supported and when he's confident. And if they get Travion Henderson involved a little bit, all of a sudden you're looking at a team that could be very exciting on offense. Defense, Christian Gonzalez continues to be a game saver. I don't think he's getting enough credit for some of the game-saving plays he made down the stretch last night. Harold Landry, Milton Williams, Christian Barmore continue to be the anchors of that defense. And Andy Borregales proves he can make a big kick from beyond the 50 in clutch situations. Yeah, I mean, if you're a Patriots fan and you're looking at the next 4 games on the schedule with the New Orleans Saints, the Tennessee Titans, the Cleveland Browns, and the Atlanta Falcons as your next 4 opponents this month and into November, yeah, you're thinking playoffs. And I can't blame anybody for thinking playoffs right now.
Gosh, it's like seeing the waiter coming over with your meal. These next 4 games, you're just like,
Yeah,
yes,
sizzling fajitas
come
were on the
on,
plate last night in Western New
yes,
York.
yes.
There were no buffalo wings being served. It was all about some really good New England clam chowder that was
Mm.
flowing last night in Orchard Park. And kudos to the Patriots for taking it to the Bills in their home stadium.
Oh man, did it feel good? And I don't know if I've ever gushed so much over a quarterback performance where he doesn't throw a touchdown, right? He doesn't, but obviously the rest of the numbers are pretty fantastic. And they had a couple of goal to go situations that they scored on. So it's not like a big deal that he doesn't throw a touchdown there. But, kind of going back to that, like the nation got to see plenty of Jaden Daniels last year, right? Washington was good. You get to see him in an NFC championship game. The nation knows about Jaden Daniels. But this was the first primetime game for Drake Maye. This was like the real first primetime game, no Thursday night football on Prime. You got to see Drake Maye in a national audience. Has to be the toughest atmosphere he's ever played in. I don't think Duke or NC State is putting the kind of atmosphere together like what was in Buffalo last night. But you see that, you see the final drive, you see going stat for stat with Josh Allen and beating him head to head. Did this feel like a true watershed moment of his career, like a real coming out party?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fact that this was Sunday Night Football, it was on a national stage. It's against arguably the best team in the conference, maybe in the league right now, in the Buffalo Bills. New England was under the spotlight, and Drake Maye rose to that spotlight. And the great ones have a knack of being able to do that. And the great thing about this, if you're a New England Patriots fan, is he hasn't even begun to scratch the surface yet of what he's capable of. And that, to me, should instill a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of defensive coordinators throughout the league. I wrote about that earlier for Sports Illustrated today. A lot of insomnia is going to be going around when the Patriots are coming to town for a lot of these defensive coordinators, because there is so much and so many ways that Drake can beat you. And look, one of the knocks heading into his tenure here in New England, coming from North Carolina, was that he'll always push the envelope. He'll always try to do too much. And in that regard, he can get maybe a little reckless with the football, maybe some questionable decision making. I think you saw him being able to harness that last night. Josh McDaniels doesn't want to eliminate that from his repertoire. That's what makes Drake Maye Drake Maye. He's a guy that's going to take the chance. I think you saw maybe Alex Van Pelt be a little bit too cautious with him last year at times. And I don't want to knock AVP, because I think he did a tremendous job with Drake in developing his footwork and developing his mechanics. But I think Josh understands that in order for Drake to be Drake, he's got to have that little bit of Drake Maye in him. And look at the tail end of the game, that game-winning drive. That could have been a 7-8 yard loss. Drake turns it into a 12-yard completion to Stefon Diggs. That was his coming out moment. That's the seminal moment that I'm taking away if I'm a Patriots fan. I love the third quarter 32-yard completion to Stefon Diggs. That is a thing of beauty. One of the best highlights I've seen a New England Patriots quarterback have since Tom left town. Yeah. But if you want to know what moment really stands out to me as an analyst, that's the one, because he essentially turned water into wine. It's essentially turned wine from water at that point. And that, to me, is something that Patriots fans can really get excited about. That's the capability that this kid has to lead this team down the stretch.
And that play in particular, like it's weird to see it when the jersey isn't red and gold with the number 15 on the back, right? Like
True.
that is what it looked like. I'm not trying to say the kid's Patrick Mahomes, but I had a good friend who does other college football analysis, but is a big Patriots fan. And he texted me and he said, I'm not trying to be crazy here, but there's like 3 quarterbacks in the world that make that play.
Right.
And Drake Maye just made it. Like, he just made that play in a really gutsy time to do it too. And that final drive, I mean, first game winning drive, he's obviously had a couple that have made it close, or get that game dying drive in Tennessee last year. But the first game winning drive is a pretty good looking one. I do want to talk about Stefon Diggs, who was a huge part of this game and the success for Drake Maye. Normally we wouldn't be 5 or 6 minutes into a conversation talking about Stefon Diggs after a game like he just had. Usually that's coming right off the top. But looking at recent Patriots history, it's maybe tougher to decide because Belichick was so good at letting guys go at the right time. But where does this rank in terms of some of the great revenge games that we've seen the Patriots be on the part of on either side. I mean, we're talking 10 for 146 in his old barn.
Yeah, without any question. And you could see it in Stefon's eyes, even if you didn't want to read it into what he was saying. Pre-game, all talking to him last week, and then, of course, in his post-game comments, you know this game meant something to him. He wanted to come out and show out in front of his old mates and let them know, I'm still one of the more elite receivers in this league. You may not have thought so when you kicked me out of town and sent me over to Houston, but I'm back now, and I'm showing you what I can do with a young quarterback and how I can be able to nurture him and bring him along. This is a huge game for Stefon Diggs. And beyond the revenge, which I know is fun, and we love that here in New England, to watch him stick it to the Buffalo Bills. It's a lot of fun, and I loved it. But the one thing that I took away from that last night is this guy is willing to be a mentor and a leader for this young kid that's trying to take this New England Patriots team on his back and lead them to the promised land. You need someone like that in the locker room, someone who's been to the puppet show, someone who's seen the strings. Stefon Diggs has. He's capable of commanding that type of respect just with his own reputation coming in. To have those players in that locker room listen to him. Everyone was captivated in his pregame speech where he kept saying, it's not enough. You have to keep the foot on the accelerator. No one's going to give it to us. We got to go out and take it. He's on the sidelines during the game yelling more. We need more. Those guys fed off that. And then in the final moments of that game and in post-game, you hear every single one of these players step up and say, what an inspiration Stefon Diggs has been in that locker room. So a huge game for him in terms of revenge. But really, if you're a Patriots fan, take more away from the fact that this guy really proved to be a spiritual, emotional leader, not only on the field, but in the locker room, makes him invaluable. And from what we can see, Cam, it looks like he can still get the job done on the field. He looks still pretty damn good in a uniform out there. This guy's still elite.
Yeah, that's the big takeaway just from watching the game, the eye test, right? Is he looks like Stefon Diggs of 3 years ago, and those were two big hurdles I think the Patriots had coming into this right. Contract was A, could he still be the same player? And B, what you just mentioned, and it became very apparent, is the leadership here. Like, for so long, the Patriot way was the only way to go. And it felt like the Patriots were the only team that brought in these guys who had some problems at previous places, and they turned it around. Obviously the Randy Mosses, the Corey Dillons, Rodney Harrison to some extent, right? It felt like the Patriots were the only team that did that. Mm-hmm. And now you've got a different coach, and I think Chris Collinsworth talked about it on the broadcast. We've talked about it on the show quite a bit. It's like they weren't sad to see Stefon Diggs go in Buffalo. And I don't know if they were really the front office people were upset to see him go in Minnesota. And certainly there wasn't a lot of like, bummer, Stefon Diggs is gone in Houston. Whether that's right or wrong, there was always kind of a bridge that was at least a little bit charred, right? Maybe not fully burned, but not great. And so this looks like a huge attitude change, and it comes under not Bill Belichick, right? It's Mike Vrabel, who really showed had a good showing for himself in this game last night. And, I think it's interesting to link it back to Belichick because that's what we have to do around here. The last couple of weeks, we're still in Belichick mode, right? Andy Borregales misses a couple of extra points in Miami. Tuesday, bring in another kicker, cut his ass. And then, of course, Ramondre Stevenson. I don't know if any team in the league would let him fumble this much, but he keeps fumbling. And instead of getting cut, Mike Vrabel's putting an arm around him. He's saying, hey, we need you. Not only, now Antonio Gibson's hurt, so that doesn't help, but we need you here. And he ends up coming with the 2 touchdowns the Patriots have. Like, is this what it's like to play for like a true blue players coach and still get good results?
Without question. And I think you see it every single time you watch Mike Vrabel stand outside the locker room and give the handshake hug or the big hug to every player coming in that locker room, thanking them for their efforts. Essentially, he's thanking them for kicking their ass all week long. I mean, and that to me is something that is so, I think, humbling about being a coach in this league is you realize the level to which you can push your players, but you also realize that, good stiff, pat on the back or a kick in the butt is something that is always appreciated by a player. And they appreciate that type of stability. They appreciate that type of loyalty in their coach, knowing the coach has their back. And that was huge with Ramondre last night. You mentioned that. Mike Vrabel going right over to him saying, look, that's okay. We're going to need you. We need you coming down the stretch. That happened before the Antonio Gibson injury.
Yes.
So it wasn't like, this is not a varsity blues type thing where, all of a sudden, Moxon's needed because the guy's out and no, I need you now. So now you're my guy.
Yeah.
No, it had nothing to do with that. He made sure to let him know, look, you're still a part of this rotation. Mike even joked about that when we spoke with him Monday afternoon in the aftermath of the game. And he said, yeah, you all know I'm a real patient guy. And then he brought that sinister smile to his face that lets you know that, yeah, he doesn't enjoy watching the fumbles as much as we do, but he understands what Ramondre brings to the table. And if this kid's nurtured and he's given the opportunity and the confidence to carry the ball and be a significant part of their red zone offense, Ramondre proved he can get the job done when the lights are at their brightest. And that's a big, big get for the New England Patriots, who are going to need Ramondre at his best, especially if Antonio Gibson's going to be out for any length of time.
And looking back at this offensive side of things, like, you faced a defense last night that's no joke. It's not the same as it is when Ed Oliver's in there in the lineup, but it's not a joke of a defense. And still, they got Drake Maye out of the pocket quite a bit. And the good news for Patriots fans, he's very good outside the pocket. He's very good. The bad news is that's not always going to potentially be the case. And this offensive line, while it's been patched together and Morgan Moses has looked good at times, it's still not all the way there. Is this even close to a perennial playoff contender in terms of the offensive line?
I think there's still tweaking, and I think there's still things that we need to see from the offensive line before we anoint them on that level. Will Campbell, I think, has been everything as advertised. You can't ask for more than what this kid has given you. And coming in with the questions surrounding his arm length, surrounding his ability to be able to protect the blind side, I think he's put a lot of those questions to rest. There is still fundamental and mental hurdles he's got to overcome to be a solid starting left tackle and potentially a Pro Bowl contender. We're not at that level yet with Will, but at this point, again, I want to give him all the credit in the world for coming in and for exercising a lot of those demons he had on his shoulders. Jared Wilson, I think, is someone who is capable of being a great partner to him on that left side. And now all of a sudden you can start to build that line, maybe with a new center after Garrett Bradbury has played his contract and maybe goes elsewhere. I look for the Patriots to really hone in and look for that in subsequent drafts now here coming forward to really build that line. But they're building consistency, and they're building a line that likes to work together. 5 players, all after the same goal, all on the same page. Give a huge credit to Doug Marrone for that. The Patriots offensive line has not looked that way. We've gone through several post-game conversations, Cam, where that offensive line looked like 5 guys headed in 5 different directions and no one knew what to do. You don't have that this year. They look like a cohesive unit. So I think fundamentally we'd like to see them a little sharper in certain circumstances, maybe a little more disciplined when it comes to some of the erroneous penalties out there, but feel good about the O-line and their future because they are building a stable line that can protect Drake Maye and that running game for the foreseeable future.
As good a night as it was for especially some of those offensive players, great night for the defense, great night for the coaching staff, quite a bit as well. Mike Debate of Sports Illustrated back on the show. Mike, we really appreciate you taking the time.
Anytime, Cam. Always my honor and pleasure to be here, but keep crushing it and keep giving a solid, I don't mean just an alternative, I mean a preferred alternative to what is let me say the scheduling conflicts and competition out there right now. I fumbled to make that a little
very diplomatic, Mike.
Yeah,
very
I guess
diplomatic.
I fumbled to make that as diplomatic as I could have. But bottom line, my friend, you do a great job. Continue on and onward and upward, buddy.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it. Certainly the check is in the mail. Thank you to Mike Debate, breaking down the Patriots. We love having Mike on. There he goes. He's covered it to the letter more than almost anyone out there. I mean, to the letter. Every day Mike's got something going out, and he's got great perspectives on this team. Coming off a huge victory for those potentially playoff-bound New England Patriots. Do you have them going to the playoffs? Let me know in the comment section below. Then be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want your alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio every weekday, high noon Eastern time. We're live here on YouTube, and then we're getting to you wherever you get your podcasts as well. Coming up next, not a knee-jerk reaction. It's time for the Red Sox to move on from Jarren Duran. And could a playoff team be throwing them a bone and giving them their top prospect? We'll talk about it next on The Cam Show.
Circulon C1 Series Clad with Scratch Defense Non-Stick. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
At Covers and All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. We deliver premier protection at affordable prices and express shipping. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
Send money abroad in just a few steps with Remitly. Sign up with your email, enter an amount, choose how your loved ones receive the money, enter your recipient's information, select a payment method, hit send, and relax. Download the Remitly app today.
Your season, your shot. The NFL season is rolling, and every touchdown can bring you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. From first touchdown scorer to anytime TD props, or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. New customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, score over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code CAMSHOW. That's code CAMSHOW to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet. Plus, over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer.
Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internix. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. That's INTERNXT.com today.
Welcome to Market XLS, your all-in-one Excel solution for investors. Designed as an enterprise-grade platform, Market XLS caters to investment managers, secure and efficient investment management and research. Book your free demo.
What if you could clean clean? With bio-based formulas and deep cleaning enzymes. No dyes, phthalates, or mystery ingredients. Just powerful pods for your dishes and laundry. Now you can, with drops made clean, made to clean.
Back here on the Cam Show, Rogue Media Sports Network. I'm your host, Cam Stewart, Zach Burke, keeping us on the air as he does 5 days a week, man. Live on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts as well. Your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio. Great conversation with Mike Debate about this Patriots team. He sees it. I see it. Most of you watching probably see it too. This looks like a playoff team for New England. And that is something, man. It's been 4 years and it didn't feel like a fluke at the time, but certainly you have to look back and say that that was a fluke, right? They were under 500. They were 8-9 the next year. And then the 2 years after that, in 2023, they bottomed out for the first time. They bottomed out again last year. So it's been a minute here. It's really been a minute since we've had a true blue playoff team. And it has been even longer since we've had a playoff team with some real hope down the line. And that's what this feels like, is starting to feel like right now. And the Patriots have a ton of winnable games ahead on the schedule. But speaking of teams that have not or had not made the playoffs since 2021, I mean, we're celebrating the Red Sox were even there. They were even in the wild card series against the Yankees, and the Yankees take 2 out of 3, and then they go and get pistol whipped up in Canada, and they're not looking like a real true contender in the American League themselves. So it goes to show that the Red Sox are a ways away from being a World Series contender. That said, I think they could be there and win the thing next year if they get the right deals this offseason. It's going to be a major winter for the Boston Red Sox. And a lot of that's actually going to come through the trade market. You know, we heard how active they were on July 31st because they have so many moves or so many guys that they can move, and yet nothing really happened. I promise this is not a knee-jerk reaction. It's time to trade Jarren Duran if you are Craig Breslow. He was a black hole for you in this series against the Yankees. In fact, I think the Yankees should be paying his paycheck this month. He was playing against the Red Sox. And when you look at where the players on the team rank in terms of win probability added in that wild card series, there is Jarren Duran, no surprise, last on the team. He hurt their chances of winning by 23%. He was negative 23 in win probability added. They were a much worse team with him out there. And guess what? Win probability added, that does not include defense. He commits an error that pretty much cost them the series in game 2. And in game 3, Stanton is pimping a wall ball double, and Jarren Duran is taking his sweet friggin' time getting there. I couldn't believe how little he cared about getting that ball and getting it back into the infield. And then the first run of the game from Bellinger has not even hit his foot on the third base bag by the time Duran gets the ball in left field, and he can't throw him out at the plate. And remember, Alex Cora said before the series, he's in the lineup even against lefties because he's one of the best defensive outfielders in Major League Baseball. Based on what? Based on what? I haven't seen that. He's a guy with these biceps the size of 747s, and he can't throw anybody out. He doesn't have a very strong arm. I don't think he's an elite defender by any stretch of the imagination. He's mostly just fine. But again, you shouldn't trade him because of this series. You should trade him because they should have traded him last year when his value was at its peak. And it wouldn't have been surprising to anybody last year to say his value was at his peak. He wasn't going to have a top 10 MVP finish again. And that value is going down month by month. Get a frontline starter for him and maybe some pieces. Because, look, WAR was still pretty good this year at 4.5, but it went down by 4 points the year before, 4 wins from the year before. His batting average went down by 30 points. His on-base percentage went down by 10 points. His OPS went down by 50 points. He struck out 9 more times this year in 51 less at-bats than he had last year. And these aren't just numbers that are his second best ever. They're not even as good as they were in 2023 in a lot of these categories. Still solid, but the value is never going to be higher than it is right now. And you've already missed out on that sweepstakes once because it was even higher last year. He doesn't have enough power to be a middle-of-the-order bat. He doesn't get on base enough to be a leadoff hitter, and you already have an elite leadoff hitter in Roman Anthony, and his defense does not save him a spot when you have this logjam in the outfield. It's probably something you should have done this summer, but to be honest, I don't think your GM is good enough to have found the best deal for him in the summer. Because, man, how about Kyle Harrison, Jordan Hicks, and Dustin May in that wild card series, huh? They almost recorded a stat. One of those guys was on the roster. But here's what surprises me. Some of the players, the teams, I should say, I meant like the players in the game, but like the teams that were interested in Jarren Duran in July are apparently still interested. There was a predictions piece on Bleacher Report, and Bleacher Report reported trade proposal. The Padres get Jarren Duran and Masataka Yoshida, who loved the last couple of weeks of his season, but would love to get rid of him if you can get something because of, again, that logjam in the outfield and the guys you're going to want to bring in to DH. And in return, the Red Sox would get Jeremiah Estrada, who's a flame-throwing relief guy, right-handed relief guy, and the Padres' number one prospect, because Leo DeVries was already traded, and that number one prospect is catcher Ethan Salas. That would be wild. That would be something. And I don't even know if it would be all the way great for the Red Sox. Because again, Duran, as much as I'm dumping on him and that his value is never going to be higher than it is right now, he's still a solid player, especially for a National League team. Who the numbers in the National League outside of like the Dodgers still are not quite catching up to the numbers that you would expect for a league where you can have a DH all the time. Okay. But you look at Ethan Salas, and that's a deal I would have loved in July, but he's only 19. He's a 19-year-old catcher, which I love a good catching prospect. He's in Double-A. He only played 10 games this year. Stress fracture in his back. That is the only thing I don't like. And his prospect number has dropped. It dropped before this past season. It will certainly drop again after this season, mainly because of the stress fracture. But I don't like 19-year-olds getting back injuries. The back isn't something that just kind of gets better. You know what I mean? It's not something that just gets stronger and healthier and better. You know, like you can have a foot injury as a 20-year-old, and as long as you're not a center in basketball, it probably doesn't even come back. You know, or a wrist injury, which can be catastrophic for a season, but it's not something that lingers throughout a whole career. A back can. Ask Larry Bird. Like that can linger with you. Ask Rob Gronkowski, man. That can linger with you your entire career. I don't care what the sport is, especially playing catcher. One of the most physically demanding, if not the most physically demanding position in the sport. I would love to have him coming up through the ranks, potentially in the majors by early 2027 as at least your backup catcher. We'll see what Carlos Narvaez projects to be over 2 years. But it's not going to be Connor Wong, and you don't really have another big-time catching prospect in this pipeline. You traded your top 10 prospect who was a catcher in Kyle Teal last year for Garrett Crochet. No complaints there. Love that deal. But it's something to take into consideration when you could get someone like Ethan Salas in return. Jeremiah Estrada, look, I mean, we all saw that Padres bullpen on national TV in the Wild Card Series. Those dudes are nasty. And they're bringing it. They're all high 90s in their fastball, and they're just unhittable. And Jeremiah Estrada's in that group, right? He's not Mason Miller, but he's in that group. That would be great. You know, you can't ever bolster your bullpen enough, even for a Red Sox team that had the number one bullpen going into the postseason. But your biggest need is number 2 starting pitcher, like far and away. And then the next biggest need is power bats, multiple. And somewhere down the list at like 5th or 6th is another bullpen arm. Because you're thinking along the lines of, well, Garrett Whitlock, another year on him, or Oldest Chapman, still good, but probably one of a year like that again. So maybe it's worth it to bring in another bullpen guy. If that's what you can get for Jarren Duran and not a top-line starter, you'd probably still do it. Because it makes your team better. The future of your team better, I guess. And the other thing is I'm also okay with trading Wilyer Abreu if it's a similar kind of package to what I was originally laying out for Jarren Duran, and that means a number 2 starter and possibly a prospect in there too. I'd be okay trading Wilyer Abreu. Those are 2 guys on team-friendly deals. They still have not accrued the 6 years of service time, so they are on dirt cheap contracts who bring a ton of upside, right? But for Duran and this team, he's not a leadoff guy. He's not a middle-of-the-order bat, and he's not your best base runner, which he was for a while because he was your fastest guy. So for maybe a Minnesota or San Diego, he brings some speed. He brings a little bit defensively. He brings a top of the order bat with some pop. He still had 40 doubles. But for the Red Sox, he's just not bringing that much of an upgrade. If you can have a Joe Ryan deal with a package that highlights either Duran or Abreu, I'm really willing to hear that. Now, the problem is you didn't get it done in July, and so now they're looking at Connolly Early and Peyton Tolley and seeing some upside of them on the major league level, and they're saying, yeah, we want one of those guys if we're giving you Joe Ryan. That's what the Twins are thinking. And it's a tough one to part with either of those guys, but you are talking about a legit top of the rotation number 2 guy in Joe Ryan. The free agent class is fairly thin. Dylan Cease coming off a bad year. Ranger Suarez from Philadelphia is a really interesting one, but I think because this is a watered down market, someone's going to really overpay for him. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I just think the value's too high for Jarren Duran, and he doesn't do enough for your team right now to not get a deal done. Let me know in the comment section below. Then be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We come at you live on YouTube every weekday, high noon Eastern time, and then we're available wherever you get your podcasts as well. Appreciate those of you watching live. We're getting those numbers are going up every day, so help us out by subscribing to the channel. It lets my boss know that I'm doing this every day and that I should keep my job, so I really appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow live at high noon Eastern time. Your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio is right here on The Cam Show.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels. Visit OpenGOAAALUSA.com and elevate your training today.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farm, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.